So angle relationships. The first one we're going to talk about is parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines that never intersect. The notation, so if you're talking about lines R and S, to say that they're parallel is two straight lines, kind of looks like an 11, that says that they are parallel. And the T, so line T, is called the transversal. Exterior angles are angles on the outside of the parallel lines. So for example of that, if you look at the image up above, the angles that are exterior angles would be angle 1, angle 2, angle 7, and angle 8. All of those angles are on the outside of the parallel lines. The interior angles are angles that are on the inside of the parallel lines. So examples of interior angles would be angle 4, angle 3, angle 5, and angle 6. Alternate exterior angles are angles on the outside of the parallel lines and on the opposite sides of the transversal. So examples of those would be angle 1 is congruent, sorry, I did that wrong, congruent to angle 7, and angle 2 is congruent to angle 8. Alternate interior angles are just like the exterior angles, but they are angles on the inside of the parallel lines and on the opposite sides of the transversal. So examples of that would be angle 4 is congruent to angle 6, and angle 3 is congruent to angle 5. Corresponding angles are angles that are in the same spot when the parallel lines are placed on top of each other. So examples of that would be angle 1 is congruent to angle 5, angle 3 is congruent to angle 7, angle 2 is congruent to angle 6, and angle 4 is congruent to angle 8. And finally, vertical angles are angles that are across or diagonal from each other. Examples of that, angle 1 is to angle 3, angle 2 is to angle 4, angle 5 is to angle 7, and angle 6 is to angle 8. Angles on parallel lines that are not congruent are supplementary. Supplementary means that they add up to 180 degrees. What do the angles in a triangle add up to? All triangles add up to 180 degrees. If a triangle has two angles with measures 39 degrees and 81 degrees, what is the measure of the third angle? It might help you if you draw a picture. Let's say that one of them is 39 degrees, and I know this isn't drawn to scale. One of them is 81 degrees, and you don't know what that third one is. You know that they all add up to 180 degrees, so 39 plus 81 plus our unknown angle has to equal 180 degrees. 39 plus 81 is 120. 120 plus x is 180, so x has to equal 60 degrees. All right, so if you have triangle ABC, so let's make triangle ABC. So the measure of angle A is 4x. The measure of angle B is 3x plus 1. And the measure of angle C is x minus 13. Find the value of x and the measure of each angle. So we need to talk about what we know. We know that if I add all of those up, they will equal 180 degrees. So 4x plus 3x plus 1 plus x minus 13. Now I need to go through and combine like terms. 4x plus 3x plus 1x is 8x. And 1 minus 13 is negative 12, which equals 180. So to solve for x, add 12 to both sides. So 8x equals 192. Divide by 8, and x equals 24. So that's the first part of the question. The next part of the question says the measure of each angle. So for angle A, it is 4 times 24. 4 times 24 is 96 degrees. The measure of angle B is 3x plus 1. So 3 times 24 plus 1 is 73 degrees. And the last one is the measure of angle C. So x minus 13, 24 minus 13 is 11 degrees. So there's your overall answer. And each triangle below, find the missing angle. So we need to look at what we know, so you can use your cheat sheet that we did in the very beginning to look at what kind of angles are congruent to each other. But we know for sure that if this is a half circle, remember that a full circle has to equal 360 degrees. So half of that has to be 180. So these are supplementary angles. So this inside angle has to add with 115 to make 180. So it's 65 degrees. And then we know that this angle plus this angle plus this angle is 180. So 50 plus 65 plus x equals 180. 50 and 65 makes 115. So the missing angle is 65 degrees. This next one, same thing that we just did on the other side, that these two angles have to equal 180, except we need to find this angle first. So 80 and 25 makes 105, and if we add this first missing angle, they have to equal 180. So this first angle equals 75 degrees. Now 75 and this have to equal 180. So 75 plus our question mark equals 180. So this missing angle is 105 degrees. So bad. And finally, find the measure of angle YDC. So the measure of angle YDC is this angle right here. So first we need to figure out, what does x equal? So if you look at this, we know that the measure of the missing angle right here, that we don't know, of angle D, it has to equal the same thing either way. So if I add this angle with 80 and this has to equal 180, but if I add this angle with this, it also has to equal 180. So what this is essentially saying is that these two values and this value have to be equal to each other. So 80 plus 6x plus 6 has to be equal to 15x plus 5, and we can solve for x. So we combine like terms. 86 plus 6x equals 15x plus 5. Subtract 6x from each side. Subtract 5 from each side. and 81 equals 9x. Divide by 9, and x equals 9. Now that we know x, we can figure out this value. So 15 times 9 plus 5 equals 140 degrees.